This year, a Nielsen report found Latino audiences are more likely to receive, consume, and share misinformation online compared to the general population. A huge platform for that fake news, Facebook. Now an investigation from the LA Times is uncovering just how much the company knew about that threat. Jessica Gonzalez, the co-CEO of the media advocacy group Free Press, spent months trying to set up a meeting with Facebook to discuss the company's lack of action in combating misinformation aimed at Latino and Spanish-speaking users. When Gonzalez finally had that meeting, she left with more questions than answers. She told the LA Times she was met with a bunch of empty promises and a lack of detail. But what Gonzalez didn't know was that behind the scenes, Facebook employees actually had been sounding alarm bells of their own. Internal documents unearthed last month by the Facebook whistleblower revealed the company knew that disinformation on its platform was particularly corrosive to Latino communities, yet they did little to stop it. Jessica Gonzalez, co-CEO of Free Press, joins me now. Jessica, it's great to have you with us. Thank you so much for your time. As I mentioned, you had that meeting with Facebook just before the 2020 election. With the release of these documents, though, they clearly knew more than they were letting on. Do you feel like you were lied to by the company at the time that you met with them?
Yes, I feel that we are repeatedly lied to by Facebook, or that they are failing to disclose all the information that they knew. We asked basic questions about how Spanish language content moderation was working at the company. How many moderators do they have? Where do those people live? What do the training materials look like? And we were met with utter silence on those issues. We were also told that they were doing their best. Well, come to find out, they knew exactly how high risk the problem was, how low their readiness was to address the problem ahead of the 2020 elections, and they decided to do nothing.
Bear with me here for a second, because I want to show our viewers how blatant this disparity is, and we'll put this up on the screen. Last year, a Facebook post claiming dead people voted in Nevada in the 2020 election went around on the platform. Those posts in English were marked as false information. The very same post in Spanish with hundreds of shares is still on the website today with no label whatsoever. What kind of message does this send to Latino communities? Is Facebook simply here saying their access to trusted information matters less if you're a Latino or Spanish-speaking consumer of their platform?
Yes, that's what this indicates. They have serially underinvested in keeping non-English speakers safe on the platform. So that's true for Spanish speakers, but it's also true for any non-English speaker on the platform. And that's what some of the documents that Frances Haugen revealed show, that Facebook has underinvested in all non-English languages. It's incredibly offensive, especially I'm here in California. California is an extremely high population of Latinos. Facebook, you're headquartered here. They were on notice that this was a problem. We kept raising it to them, and they just simply didn't act, despite the fact that Latinos were being targeted not just with voter suppression campaigns, but also with efforts to undermine the census.
Yeah, and speaking of that Frances Haugen whistleblower testimony, I want to play a small section of this for you and our viewers. This was from the Senate hearing last month. Watch this.
Based on what I saw in terms of allocation of integrity spending, so one of the things disclosed in the Wall Street Journal was that I believe it's like 87% of all the misinformation spending is spent on English, but only about like 9% of the users are English speakers. It seems that Facebook invests more in users who make them more money, even though the danger may not be evenly distributed based on profitability.
I mean, that is just absolutely mind-blowing. It's just staggering to think that 87% of spending is being spent on just 9% of users. And the truth is, Facebook is a huge company. This is not about a lack of resources in a company like Facebook. Why do you think they're allocating so little attention to languages outside of English? I mean, what is the danger that poses when only 9% of users are getting 87% of the spending on this kind of fact-checking?
The simple answer is they haven't been forced. They haven't been held accountable, right? In Germany, they passed a law and required 3,000 content moderators be located in Germany. I'm not saying we need such a law, but we do, absent more accountability. I think the danger here is that there are very targeted efforts to disrupt democracy, to undermine our basic rights to vote. And Facebook has not done enough to protect us here in the United States, but abroad as well. The UN found that Facebook played a contributing role in the genocide in Myanmar. That does have a lot to do with Facebook's underinvestment across language. So the threats here are many. It's a threat to our democracy. It's a threat to public health and safety. COVID disinformation, vaccine disinformation is rampant in non-English languages across Facebook and its other platforms. And so, and genocide, all these other mass atrocities that are happening around the world, Facebook has to take a really good look at what role their underinvestment across language is playing in those atrocities.
And it seems like it's something that Congress is still grappling or struggling to grapple with in terms of what role Facebook is playing in our democracy. Jessica Gonzalez, thank you so much for your time. We'll continue to follow this story as it unfolds. I still had less